everybody. Welcome back to the Johnny Laing Show. And obviously, there's somebody missing today, and that's Buster, but he couldn't make it. This is a different time of day, so you have
And we've been trying to do this for forever, and we made it happen today.
got to make it happen. So, right here, everybody. And by the way, I'm going to let Hollywood Bob Starr, all you wrestling fans already know, WCW, WWF.
You got that right. At least he got it right. WWF, not this WWE.
WWF and many other
They
promotions,
actually believed us.
championships had, and we've already had a show worth of conversations before we even turned. So what I want to ask you to get you rolling, and I know that because we flow.
Yeah.
How did this? I mean, you're a professional wrestler. You have been a professional wrestler for 30 years.
Yeah,
so
that's scary, dude.
Yeah.
It's
so
really scary.
What was the catalyst? What got this?
Well, I mean,
started?
you were there in the beginning.
I was, but
right?
remember,
they
don't know this.
Right. We weren't in high school together. We became friends while we were in high school, and just like most wrestlers from that day and age, we had like a little backyard wrestling thing going, and we traveled around from house to house, and we all had a blast or whatever. And we were talking about it earlier, like we did it because we loved the wrestling business, and we all wanted to be who we saw on TV, and we would emulate them and stuff like that. But when it becomes not fun, you choose a path. You chose to go get a career and do your thing or whatever, and but I want to make a living at this stuff. I don't know how, and it's going to probably take forever, but that's what I want to do as a job. And it's funny, man, all these years later, I mean, I just turned 50 years old back in September, right?
You old son of a
I started this shit when I was 15.
Yeah.
So, I've been interested around and in the wrestling business my entire life, and my last match was 3 weeks ago. My old ass got back in the ring. We'll talk about that later. What was I thinking? But we just love being around the business and being part of it. And I remember that while we were doing that backyard stuff is when I started to go do independent wrestling stuff, because I had already been training down North Avenue with a guy named Joey Maggs and Jim Leon and Axel Rotten, AJ Fritzoid. There was a bunch of guys, and most of them aren't with us anymore, which is scary in itself. I was talking to Dave the Wave, the referee, and it's weird because we're two of the only guys left. There's only a couple Sledgehammer McGill, I as far as I know, still with us, and Surgeon is still around. If you remember them guys, because they were around when you were around. Surgeon, I hear from Dave every once and again. But Axel's gone and Fritzoid's gone, and it's crazy.
You're the last of a dying breed, and that's in a literal sense here as far as
a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I get told that I'm the old guy, I'm the bitter old guy, and stuff like that. But here's the thing: the wrestling business that I got into is not what it is today.
Right.
And I understand that, and I understand that it evolves. But I also think that AEW, the newest company, new kids.
I've been hearing a lot of good things about that.
Okay, I sat there. I took a day off of work, and I never take off work just to watch their first show. And it's I think that it's what we did on steroids, sort of. And I don't mean big like this. I mean
grand.
Yeah.
And it's
it's
real
hard.
and everything is
you believe it,
right?
There's the difference. And
do you remember them days? Now listen, I'm being dead serious.
Oh, going to the Baltimore Arena or Baltimore Civic Center,
it was so.
Yep. The TV show would go. The best one was Jim Cornette, and Jimmy's awesome. He's got an amazing podcast, and it's Jim Cornette hit Baby Doll with a tennis racket one time. And this was '86 during their run with the Rock and Roll Express. And fucking people wanted to kill him. The day that aired on Saturday afternoon TV here in Baltimore, that night the Rock and Roll Express fought the Midnight Express at the arena. And these people sold that fucking building out off that TV show. If they weren't going, they are now.
Right?
Jim Cornette, I'll never forget, man. He was the funniest guy. A buddy of mine, Joe Abel, made the Midnight Express satin jackets and put like the Midnight Express on the back.
Yeah.
And they wore them on TV and stuff. And Joe, well, you know Joe.
Yeah,
because he's in Florida now. And it's funny, he just bought a vet the other day, and it's like I keep seeing all these pictures of him with this vet, and I'm thinking, motherfucker, really? I love him. He's such a great guy. And that's part of our family, you know. Even from back when we did it, once this is a fraternity that's not a college.
Right.
It's kind of a fraternity of life. And it was that way in WCW. And not as much WWF. I mean, I'm still friends with several people. But like up there, you were a little bit more distant. But like WCW was like a family of guys.
It's I felt even as a fan, I felt that way.
We're all fans though.
Yeah,
And that's my number one thing. And I kind of, for a few years there, had a hard time admitting that. But if you're not a mark for wrestling, what the fuck are you doing in it? Right?
Yeah.
This business, the business as a whole. Even though wrestling isn't what it was as far as believability, these guys still got to train and they're still taking bumps in that ring, and it's still a pain in the ass. And I'm going to tell you what, one of the best systems I've seen is the MCW training center out of Baltimore. It's in Joppa right now. These guys, Bruiser, God rest his soul, was the head of the school. He passed away. And now James has got it. And he's amazing. And just to walk in there, I swear to God, WCW had the training center in Atlanta, right? And now WWE has their performance center. Same thing. It's just it's just got a lot more cool shit. I mean, they do TV production there and all this other stuff. And we actually have a couple of the MCW students are in WWE right now. One's a referee. Jess is doing really good. We've had, I think, 2 referees. One of the guys was big time in Florida Championship Wrestling, which is now NXT. Same thing.
Okay.
It's just, but that training center, when you walk in, it's like being at WCW. There used to be this guy, Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker, little fire plug. Fucking guy was built like a brick shithouse. He would drill these kids till they puked, dude. And it's like, but the guys that went through the whole training system and respected what they were and learned that they were some of the biggest stars in the business. You know what I mean? And it's like nowadays, you can't train people correctly. Like, and I'm not saying you should beat the shit out of them. But let's just say, I ain't never heard of taking a fucking day off for busted finger or some shit. They tell you tape the shit together and get the hell out there. And plus, back then, if you didn't work, you don't get paid. These kids now are all under contracts. And it's amazing. I know everybody out there if you're watching this, it's a wrestling-based show. All this shit that's been going on the last couple of weeks on the internet, people bashing Vince McMahon for letting all these people go. Well, Jesus Christ, how long is he going to pay you to sit on your ass? Like, in the old days, you earned your money. You worked. And I'm not saying the kids don't earn their money when they work. Because he does a lot of personal appearance type stuff. And people don't understand. It's all tied in together. We were talking about the Rockstar Picture stuff I do. It's all tied in. The same kind of business. You're constantly on the road. You're making little to no money when you get into it. And you just hope that somebody sees you and goes, Johnny Lang, we're going to make you the next fucking John Cena. And for the next
heavyweight champion.
For the next 3-4 years, because it never lasts now. If you notice, guys like the Junkyard Dog, that was a household name for 25, 30 years, you know, and the only reason he's still...
And still is a household name to me.
Right, but I'm saying when he passed away, people still talk about him.
Absolutely.
You know, years later, and it's been quite a few years since he passed away in a tragic car accident. These kids of today, it's not like that. It really isn't, and it scares me. Like, I don't know. I was the only boy in my family, right? Shout out to my cousins, the torture they put me through. All females. But like, when I got into the wrestling business, I was looking for a job, right? And then as soon as you start to get into it, then you would go, I want to be a star. So, okay, to the average person, we were talking about that. How do I look at myself? I just look at myself as Bob. You know what I mean? Like, right. I'm not on TV anymore, A. B, even when I was on TV, I don't know that I liked the head that I got from it at certain times. But it was kind of like, but you get into a bubble. You don't really talk to people outside that bubble. And it's right. Like, it's hard to get into it. And once you're in it, you're stuck in it. You know what I mean? Because my group of guys, like Diamond Dallas Page was just here in Baltimore. He did a show for the MCW and did like autograph signing. And like he comes walking through the door, he looks up, he's like, "Hey, Bobby." I haven't seen him, actually the last time I saw him was like 6 years ago, but before that it would have been 25 years ago. But these guys, like I said, it was like a family. We see each other in the dressing room every night and, blah, blah, blah. See each other out at the clubs and stuff like that. And Dallas was a partying man back in the day. And I'm sure he still does to a certain extent. But that
still
here, another plug. I'm a plug master. DDP Yoga. Best stuff out there, bro.
Yeah, well, actually,
no weights, right?
No.
It's all done. Dallas has come out with a program. If your back bothers you, pretty much anything. He's got some sort of exercise he's come up with. He supports the troops, which is amazing stuff. You know what I mean? He takes care of the troops.
And saves some lives.
Absolutely.
Scott Hall,
Jake Roberts.
Yeah.
All great guys. And I don't give a shit what anybody says. I've seen them. Scott Hall treated me like a dick at one time. And then he also treated me like a brother. You know what I mean? And I get it. It took a little while. Just because he sees you around, then you speak very limitedly. But because he sees you around, you're like one of the boys. And the X-Pac, Shawn's a great guy. The only guy I never got a chance to really talk much with was Shawn Michaels. I've wrestled him a few times, but never got to really sit down and talk with him. But Hunter, I met Hunter the first time in WCW before he ever became anything. And then, oh my God, he married the boss's daughter. You know what I'm saying?
And got jacked as a mofo.
Oh my God, he's still to this day, and he's not working on TV, so to speak. He makes appearances or whatever for NXT and different stuff, but
he's not really
wrestling. He's still better jacked than most of the guys. I mean, he took his shit serious.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys that are just, if you can get them away from the wrestling bubble, so to speak, like Buff Bagwell. Marcus has always been nice to me. You know what I mean? Some people bitch and you see crazy videos online and stuff like that. And it's like, I try to explain to fans, friends, and everybody else. We're no different than anybody else. We fuck up just like everybody else. Like, oh my God, such and such got a DUI. Well, fucking your uncle got one 2 weeks ago. I didn't fucking put it on national fucking internet. Who gives a shit? That's the one part I don't think will ever change. And the more the internet grows, the worse it's gonna get. I'm a super fan of something called a shoot interview, which is almost just like what this is. They usually sit down with one of the boys and they go back and they talk about all these crazy stories and all this stuff, whatever, kayfabing the business. But that's our life, at that time.
Right.
But these people, I know I ramble, but it's like to teach people to understand that, my mom didn't believe me, okay? God rest her soul. I was on the Jerry Springer show, okay? At one point, I had a promoter out of Wisconsin, and I worked shows for him. Well, he became an associate producer for the Springer show. And he said, well, what would you think about, because we didn't have any shows on the calendar, he goes, what would you think about doing Springer? And I'm like, what? What do you mean doing Springer? And we got the whole thing together, and I flew out to Chicago, and I was on there. More people seen that fucking Springer show. Okay, I was on television from 91 to 98-ish, something like that. All the time. Every fucking weekend I was on one of the TV shows. But they remember that Springer show. People will walk up to me in a grocery store in the middle of fucking... Remember when Giant used to be open 24 hours?
Yeah.
At that time, I worked at night shift. Okay, so I would go to the grocery store at night. And people literally would walk up to me and ask me about Springer in the middle of the night at the grocery store. And I told my mother, I said, it's the most uncomfortable feeling because you have to be nice. I just got off work. I've been at the bar working all night. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's like, if you're a dick to that one person, and then they tell somebody, and then he tells somebody, and it's 100 times worse now, because if you say something out of line or do something out of line with the way people are on the internet, and you know who you are because you're watching this show, and I guarantee you'll talk shit. Everybody does. But the thing of it is remember, man, this is for forever. You know what I'm saying? This interview will be long gone. This shit will still be spinning somewhere on the internet, you know? And people just, back in the day, when I first got in the wrestling business and coming up as young boys, we didn't have to deal with that shit.
No.
It was balls to the wall,
It's internet is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it really is. But and I'm glad for the fact I'm one of the guys that, and there's several of us, but I mean, I strictly stick to it. I have a book at my house because I've kept track of all my friends that passed and stuff like that to try to keep their memory alive. Like, people don't understand, like, you're here today and gone tomorrow in the wrestling business. Like, to the new fans, they have no fucking clue who I am. Because, much like the new wrestlers, not all, but some, they don't go back and learn the history of what they do. If they would, it would be so much better.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I remember there was a guy, God bless his soul, I know you met him, Golden Phoenix.
Yes.
Okay, Mark is no longer with us either. It's when we go back about these stories, it's awesome to do it, but it's scary because it's like, fuck, these guys are all gone. And it's like, Mark came to us, I don't remember if he lived in PA or New Jersey, but his dad was always there with him, right? And I think, personally, he wanted to be a boxer. And he was at one point. And that's really what it did, you know, like Mickey and Rocky, right? So this guy comes in, he looks like a Greek god. Remember, he's built like a brick shithouse. And Timmy headlines him with Ivan Koloff. Okay? Fuck, he gets to work with Ivan, that sucks. He doesn't even know who Ivan Koloff is. Has no clue. And this man went to the Monster Factory, right?
Right.
But he's sort of like me, but I grew up a fan of it first. It's a business. He's here to get paid. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's trying to make a living. And if the guys, and yes, I talk in giant circles, but if the guys of today, not meaning the guys on TV, I'm talking the independent guys, would understand, it's about having fun, making friendships and all that stuff. That's part, but it's still a business.
Right.
You know what I mean? No one gets in a ring and gets the shit beat out of them for, you know, or wants to get shit beat out of them for free. I'm not gonna say they don't, because, dude, it's still to this day, there's promoters out there that are just as soon to rip you off. Like, here's the thing. The promoter is in charge of getting the word out that the show's coming. Our job is to perform on the show good enough and be entertaining enough that those people will buy a ticket again.
Right.
Okay? Wrestling has changed for the worse in the fact that when we were kids, WWF was in Baltimore every month.
Yeah.
Okay? On a 31-day month, they might be here twice, the first and the very last week. NWA was here every month. There's 2 wrestling shows at that arena. Both sold out. All through the early 80s. They can't sell fucking 5,000 tickets now. Tell me who did it right and who did it wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But here's the thing. The WWE is the most amazing promotional machine there is. They have hundreds of people that work at Titan Towers. And they make these guys and girls look like $1 million. Now go back and make the people actually believe. I don't even know if it's possible anymore. You know, but I can tell you this. I can go to towns in West Virginia and Kentucky, maybe the Carolinas. It's still real.
Right.
It's the coolest shit. Like, you can get in the ring up here and they'll be fucking chanting boring and acting like total assholes and whatever, which is cool. That's what we're trying to do at one point in the match, get the people. Usually the boring thing is the kiss of death. If they're booing you, you're doing great. Because I was a career heel or whatever. But you go to these towns and it's so amazing because when you walk out and you go like this, the crowd responds. Like, it's kind of like, and they're not sure who you are. Like, because they haven't seen you in years or whatever, but they know you're somebody. I watch half of these guys walk out to the ring at some of these indie shows, and with the exception of the top tier guys, they just kind of like come walking out. These guys, some of them, and like I said, love them all to death. They all put in 100% effort and stuff, but some of them couldn't even have been the dude that got my ring jacket, right? And definitely wouldn't have been a guy to get Hogan's ring jacket or Savage or somebody, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and they're in the fucking ring, and there's somebody trying to push these people as someone you should look up to and someone you should admire and stuff. And that's cool. You can admire that person. But when we grew up, it was Dick Murdoch. It was fucking
Harley Race.
You know, these guys weren't all Greek gods with, you know, because of course the whole wrestling business went through the steroid thing.
Right.
And there's still some of that stuff out there. What the fuck? I'd be lying to tell you it wasn't. I can tell you I haven't seen the gym in a while because of my daytime job, but It's just, it is what it is. Like, to go, oh, such and such, he's got to be on steroids. Look how big he is, whatever. But you didn't know. The fucking guys didn't put this shit on video. And you know what I mean? Like, so you can think what you want back then, but until you see it happen, right. Nowadays, these kids can't shut the fuck up. There's certain things that you don't talk about. You know what I mean? If you continuously slap someone in the face, whether it be your wife, your fucking anything in life, eventually it's just going to go, you know what, I've had enough. Fuck this. And that's what millions of Americans did with the pro wrestling business in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody made a joke, and it's almost like a fucking t-shirt. The Wendy's commercial on WCW Saturday night, the show that I wrestled on every week, the Wendy's commercial draws higher ratings than WWE does now. That's scary fucking shit, because WCW was the second lowest rated program in the company. We had the Worldwide and Pro, then WCW Saturday night, 605 to 805 for fucking 100 years. It was on TBS.
Right.
And then you had Nitro, then they came in with Thunder as a B show. Sorta. I mean, it depends on which way you look at it. The ratings they drew killed Raw now. And it's like, but WWE used to do so fucking good, dude.
That's why they won.
That was, well, here was the thing. No, money's why they won.
Yeah, true.
I mean, the bottom line was, and I've heard a million different stories. I've heard Eric Bischoff's story. I've heard Hogan. I've seen all these shoot interviews. I've heard them all tell a story. The bottom line is, wrestlers are a form of carny.
Yeah.
And it's never enough. It's always gimme, gimme, gimme. And the boys did that shit, and a lot of guys got paid a lot of money. But if it wasn't so much, maybe then those people wouldn't have wanted to get rid of WCW and put hundreds of people out of work. Like, dude, it was cool because I was nobody, right? Like you said, maybe at home I'm somebody, but there I was nobody. I was just one of the little fish. And it's like, I got to get in personally with a bunch of the crew. There was a guy named Moses, I'll never forget it, older black guy. He could find fucking anything. Like, no matter what it was, if he said, Moses, I need this for TV tonight, he could fucking find it. Most amazing guy. You know, he's got a family and a wife at home. And because of the bullshit, and then the Time Warner deal, when Time Warner came in, and they took control of everything. And then I was already gone, like I was doing indies already. But the guy said it was fucking horrible because everything was censored. You know, you couldn't hit somebody with a table. I mean, okay, so Sandman comes out smoking a cigarette and he's got a chair, but he can't hit anybody because that's too violent. It's pro wrestling. What the fuck are you talking about? But standards that standards and practices shit killed it. And it's like, I do believe. I honestly, and I will catch heat for this, I know it. And between Conrad, we'll get it to the right person. But Eric Bischoff, if he could have put that deal together he was working on, and the backer, what happened was they pulled the TV deal. So when they pulled the TV deal, all his big money backers said, fuck that. Like, that's where you're going to make your money back and make more money. So, but I honestly, in my heart, believe that if Eric would have got that deal, that's the company everybody be watching now. You know what I'm saying?
And not WWE.
WWE is they're always going to have their fans. They're going to have their 1,800,000 fans. Okay, and now that they come to Baltimore once a year for Raw, once a year for SmackDown.
I did go to Raw last year.
Did you? Well, see now because of the state athletic commission. Fuck you, Pat. But the State Athletic Commission in Maryland, that guy hates me, man. He says he loves me to death, but he's just a dick. Just leave us alone, right? It's like, remember, wrestling's fake. Fuck off. Get your tax money and go home.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. AEW just announced 2 shows in Washington coming up. This new arena in Washington. I didn't even know they built a new arena, but it's a smaller place. It's probably, I'm thinking, I don't know, but because I just heard about it yesterday, I'm thinking it's the size, remember the old DC Armory?
Yes.
That it would hold 6,000, 7,000, whatever. That'd be perfect for AEW right now, right? You don't want to go into the fucking Verizon Center. It costs a fortune to run that building. You know what I'm saying? And you got tons of TV to do, so you got to pay all the union guys to be there all fucking day long, and all the costs and all the people that have to fly in and stuff like that. You know, people don't understand. As long as you stay with your thing. But back to what I was just saying, I honestly think, because I love AEW, I'm never going to be a part. Jeff Jones, if you remember him,
it's real. Yeah, it's real again.
Yeah, that's
Jim Mills,
with the exception of a few guys, and I've actually enjoyed their matches, but like guys like the Young Bucks. I had a misunderstanding when I very first met them guys, and I seen them at StarCast when I was a guest at StarCast, and they were super, super nice kids. And here's the deal: their wrestling's amazing. It's just some of the stuff they do, like you can't. In my day, you get super kicked by somebody, you're gone. You're done. 1, 2, 3. But they're so small that, like, in the light heavyweight division, back when I was in, it would have been Brian Pillman, Brad Armstrong. There's who held that title at WCW. It went around all kinds, but like White Lightning, Tim Horner, or George South, or even the weight I was at, I would have been a light heavyweight. Because people don't realize, pro wrestling, it was monsters, right? Fucking Andre the Giant, right? Dick Murdoch would walk out. People would run because they were afraid he was going to fucking smack one of them because he's a crazy old Texan, right? Terry Funk, same thing. You know, and I've heard Terry's doing pretty bad off in health and stuff. God be with you, bro. Just hang in there as best as possible. He's such an amazing guy.
He wrestled late.
Dude, I worked with him as the Russian assassin. Promoter called me Dick Karakoff in Western Maryland. He said, hey, I got this idea, and it's 20 years ago. He's like, I want you to wrestle Terry Funk as the Russian. And I'm going, really? Not as Bob? He goes, no. You're going to do the job. And I'm like, I could care less. How much does it pay? You know what I mean?
Right.
I went out there, and let me tell you something, brother. Working with Terry Funk was smooth as butter, but it was real. Like, he hit me with a chair in that match. I was like, holy shit. I was like, okay, that's the way it's supposed to be done, I guess. But Terry, he's got balls of steel, brother. He's in his 70s doing backflips and shit. Like, now he can't. But up until a few years ago, he was still going out there bleeding all the time and just tearing his shit up. He's amazing. And, like, look at the people that we looked up to as kids. They're almost all gone.
Yeah.
Dusty.
Ah, man.
Greatest mind in the business. Okay? Fucking Magnum TA. Still with us, but I mean, Magnum TA.
I often think about what his career would have been like if
he would have been world champion. He would have been world champion, but I don't know where it would have went from there. I've known Magnum. He was one of my bosses at when I first started at WCW. He was one of the road agent guys, and he would handle our matches, telling us whatever they wanted for the night. And he's super, super nice guy. You know, he's a family man now. He's got his thing. He's got an amazing company that he owns, building like cell phone towers and shit. Makes a fortune. God bless him. But he would have been an amazing world champion. And I'll be honest with you, in all actuality, I've heard a lot of the guys say, and I believe it would have changed the face of wrestling. Because he would have gave Hogan a run for his money.
And Flair.
Yeah, well, no, but I'm saying the opposition at the time, WWF, was Hulk Hogan. If Magnum TA would have won that title from Flair, which is, I heard that's the way it was going. I don't know. I mean, I'm nobody, but that's over the years, all the stories.
And does that change Flair's career?
Oh, it would have changed everything, but the whole face of the business would be different. There's a damn good chance the Crockett family, well, I guess, yeah, there's still enough of them around. The Crockett's would probably still be running. Dude, you don't understand. When I first started, it was NWA. I mean, I came in literally just as the papers were signed and stuff like that. It was just... The television show used to be called World Championship Wrestling.
Yes.
Okay? Sanctioned by the NWA. And, like, the first TV show I was on was against Nikita Koloff. Was, like, one of the last NWA run shows before Turner took it over. And it's like... And basically back then it was like, okay, the Crockett's, I'm the owner, to, okay, Crockett's, I run the thing, but they own it. Because the Crockett's were still the bosses and stuff. You know what I mean?
But
like
they weren't. They just didn't own it anymore.
Right. They didn't have to sign the checks.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go on, but we will go on. And I want to, you know, earlier we were talking, and I had to. So some things came to mind. Okay. So, as a fan, favorite wrestler of all time.
That's so unfair. Because as I wrestled these guys now, so wow. if you say one, you're fucked with the other one.
No.
I don't know, man. Like, growing up as a kid, the end-all, be-all was Hulk Hogan.
Right.
I mean, I'm a kid of the 80s, right? But then I saw this stuff called NWA, and what we just talked about, it was Magnum TA. Dude, the boss was the shit. You know, he had the hairy chest and the long hair.
Handsome son of a gun.
He wasn't grossly looking. He didn't look all steroided up. He he looked still good as shit. Yeah. You know, he looked like a construction worker.
You didn't want to bang him, did you?
No.
Why did you think about that? Why did you think?
It took me a second. Oh, did he really say that? You know me better.
I'll take that as a yes.
You know me better than most of these people. But,
okay. All right. So you're going to say Hulk Hogan?
Yeah. I mean, it depends. You have to pick two because it was two different worlds. I mean, it was two totally different worlds. The NWA was the wrestling, rugged, whatever, and WWF was more character based. But still, Hulk Hogan was a god, you know. I mean, fuck, if I could be Hulk Hogan, I could be a millionaire. I could blah blah blah. They just didn't tell me all the shit I had to go through just to get on TV. I can't imagine the pressure. Like, I really can't. And I'm friends with a lot of people. Booker T and Stevie Ray, amazing people, and they're world tag team champions more times than anybody in history.
Like 173 times.
But they were good, man. The people loved them, but I can't imagine what the pressure was like for Booker. Because Stevie went NWO, Booker went, babyface, whatever. Or Hogan. Like, once you get to that level, the pressure, I mean, come on, man. Like, I like to go to the grocery store, I like to go to the gas station, I like to go to movies.
Right.
They can't do that shit in peace. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they still do it, but you can't go in peace.
Right.
You know, you can't
even go out. I'd be like, hey!
You can't go out and eat. It's crazy shit. But no, those two. If I was going to tell you the spectrum, because like I said, living in Baltimore, you're in the middle. You know, if you go, Philadelphia was about the NWA did good, most places that they went, but they didn't overextend their boundaries when it was NWA. That wasn't until they bought fucking UWF and started going to California and all that bullshit.
I remember that.
When they stayed to the Carolinas and Virginia and Maryland or whatever,
they killed it.
And Philadelphia is, I love it, but it's a fucked up city. Like, dude, the Horsemen were the shit up there when we were kids, right? I went up there as a fan once or twice, and I got to wrestle in that arena too, the Civic Center, the old Civic Center. And it was cool as shit, because I grew up watching wrestling matches from the Civic Center. You know what I mean? The Philadelphia Spectrum, same thing with WWF, you know. But yeah, it's such a different, we were on that cutting line, the Mason-Dixon line, you know.
And
it's like, we got, like I said, we were one of the lucky cities. Philadelphia was another one back when we were kids. They got 2 shows every month, no matter what. And my mother, being a single mom, God bless her, I never, she told me stories well into adulthood that I didn't know back then. But like, to go without eating lunch, just to save that couple dollars, because them tickets were fucking $15 a show, you know, and I gotta have something to drink, whatever. And sort of, it was my mom's twice a month babysitter. She wanted to go out with her girlfriends and hang out, because she knew she dropped me off at the wrestling show, or, you know, and she would pick us up at the Days Inn across the street at midnight, you know, whatever, you know. So it was just cool. And it later in life, you know what I mean? It's like, God damn. I look at today's kids, and I'm thinking, if you got 3 kids, and you try to go to the fucking WWE show, right? You got to take out a fucking second mortgage, right? By the time you buy them some sort of merchandise, because that's shit nowadays, you know, and buy them a hot dog and a damn soda, and you buy a beer or something.
I spend $50 or no more, probably $50.
$50 on the hot dogs.
Yeah, right.
You know? Merchandise now, T-shirts are fucking crazy. They're anywhere from $25 to $60. You know, because some of this stuff, I mean, and it is amazing to see WWE set up. They have such amazing merchandise people. Like and I don't know what part of it is actually them and what part of it is other companies. You know, like, give you for instance, you'll laugh. Last night I told you I got home 6 o'clock this morning from work, and I'm looking, you know, just checking mail, looking at my Facebook feed, and this shirt pops up for Poison. Well, I've shot pictures of that band for years. I love that band. They're hockey jerseys. $139 a piece. for a fucking shirt. Okay, it is really nice. It's got really cool logos on it, but it's a fucking shirt. I'm not a pro hockey player. $139, and I went, fuck this. I'll just save the. You know how I learned how to save money in my old age? I just right click and save the picture. I don't need the actual shit. I can just go back and look at the picture. Because if I bought everything I liked, I'd be broke. But no, man, this show could go on for like 3 hours.
It could, but all right, okay, so I said favorite wrestlers. You did
right.
So we'll go. We're gonna go with the same. Okay. Favorite tag team.
Road Warriors.
And that's just
and if I had to go with the Southern, it would be Harlem Heat.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Your buddies.
Yeah. Booker and Stevie, I was there the day they came in from Texas. And it was so cool to watch them become these huge stars, right?
Right.
I mean, these guys, I don't know if you've ever seen them live. Booker's 6'5". His brother is like a foot taller. You know, these guys are this big. Funny story. We're in Orlando, Florida, and we would do Disney tapings for like 10 days at a time or something. So they needed some supplement shit from the legit supplements from like GNC. So we asked around, and we didn't have cell phones then, you know, whatever. And the hotel people said, you go down here, whatever, and there's a mall. So we go to the mall. If you could imagine the look on these people's face when this little white guy comes in sandwiched with these two gigantic black guys that are built buff as shit. We're walking through the mall, and I'm looking at these people like, and I'm like, Booker, did you see that? And he goes, yeah, I saw it. Don't sell. Just keep walking. Don't sell it. And I went right to the GNC store or whatever. It was so funny. But they're such great guys. But the Road Warriors, I mean, I don't know how much of my stuff you ever saw. I wrestled Hawk a ton. Wrestled Animal. I wrestled the Road Warriors 3 times. Then I wrestled with Animal on Independence. I wrestled with Hawk on Independence. Hawk was like the clown thing I did, which I'm not going to say the name for copyright reasons, but Hawk's the one that came up with that. And while he was alive, I never heard a word about doing it. Like, nobody said a word to me. Because he technically, if push came to shove, he invented the damn thing. He drew it on a napkin, you know. And I had fun with that over the years, boy. It's like, if there was a class clown, it was me. And no shit, I took it to real life. But for the people that are on the inside, they understand what that was.
We were talking about that as well. My producer and I were talking about that the other day. That clown.
And there's so many of us all over the country, everywhere.
Isn't it funny though, and just about that particular character? Because sometimes I go down the Wikipedia wrestler hole,
right.
And then you start just hitting, you know.
I'll be honest with you, dude, and just real quick, that Wikipedia thing is so full of shit, though. I never set an account up. Like, I have no control over mine. I didn't put it up there. Like, they put weird shit on there sometimes, and I'm like, I'm like reporting it. Like, please get this ain't real. Like, that's not right, you know. And not that it matters.
I mean, you can change it.
It's kind of, well, somebody has a password. I don't know who did this shit. They did it to a bunch of wrestlers, and I've honestly never, because I don't give a shit, but I have to sort of because people on the internet can see this stuff, and then like. They're like, oh, you did this, you did that. I'm like, no, not really. It was just some kid that was a whiz kid. And I have a feeling it was somebody we talked about earlier. I'm not going to say his name again because he's still in the business and doing well for himself. But I have a feeling it was him, and he set passwords with all our goddamn names. And it's like, because think about it. Bob Starr is not my last name. And the people on here that have known us since childhood and school and stuff, they know. They should know. And the rest of them, fuck them. Right. The fans that you don't need to find my house. It's all good. But
okay.
So go on. Next.
Okay. So,
but the Road Warriors over and above. If you had to just pick one, because they worked both places, dude. When we were kids, there was nothing bigger than the Road Warriors.
They dominated
shit. You would hear what a rush. That's the '90s. You would hear the Iron Man.
Yeah.
And dude, the arena was losing their shit. It was just like
they knew what was about to happen.
The best one I ever seen.
Somebody was about to get destroyed.
Yep. The best one I ever seen was the Crockett Cup. When Adam came out with that big silver thing over his head or whatever, and that music hit and that building just came unglued. It was crazy. But yeah, I would say that. But Harlem Heat, if I had to pick one, because I think the Road Warriors is popular and as good as they were there. I think they went to all new heights at WWF.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? WWF made I said this and I catch heat every time. I say WWF made superstars, like legends.
Out of the Road Warriors.
Out of everybody.
Everybody.
Or WWE, whatever. But like, I don't consider him in the same group with the guys that literally went to wrestling school, trained, and became wrestlers. Brock Lesnar he went to Ohio Valley. So he went to the best of the best. You know what I mean? That's where Cena came from too, and Batista. That whole group.
Right.
That it was that one class that was our childhood,
Right.
or I should say our like 20s.
Yeah, middle.
Yeah, because like they all went to school at the same time.
Because in our childhood, they were stars from
The
the
legends.
70s. Yes,
Right,
the legends.
that still today draw insane money just to sign their name.
Yeah.
That's how the business has changed. Now, the person who wins is the one that gets booked on all the autograph signings and gets brought in by all these different vendors to just sign your name. Here's $2,000. Here's $1,000 to sign your fucking name. And I'm going, I was happy with $10 for a picture.
Right. Yeah,
right? Polaroids, click.
Back in that, yeah. Okay.
But where are we going next?
Next side. So, who was your favorite to wrestle?
Wow, dude, I wrestled some really cool people.
When you wrestle, when you think about this person, when you wrestled this person, it was just like you say, butter, and every time you.
Dude, there's so many. I was really lucky. During most of my career, I don't know why, I got stuck working with the really big guys. But Jody Hamilton, the assassin, I think you know who that is, right? The guy, he used to run the power plant. He was world famous assassins. Shout out to his son Nick, was one of our referees. He got me some of the coolest. I wrestled Beautiful Bobby as Beautiful Bobby, not just the Midnight Express. I wrestled Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I wrestled Brian Pillman.
Who?
Macho Man.
That was. You know what? I think that would have been my
Macho Man. But Bobby Eaton and Ricky Steamboat, dude, were the smoothest fucking guys in the ring. Oh my God.
Both legends.
Oh Jesus Christ! Me and Bobby Eaton shut down. What was the name? The Columbus, Georgia Civic Center. We were the very last match. They literally had the construction shit on the parking lot. We were doing TV. We were the last match of TV taping, and they tore the building down the next day. And I used to mess with him about it. God rest his soul. He passed this year, Bobby Eaton.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. First, it was horrible. His wife passed, and then like within 3 months, I think, 3 or 4 months, he passed too.
Oh my God. Oh man.
Total legend.
Off the top rope.
Bobby Eaton was so cool, dude. We would do TVs, and I don't give a shit if you needed a Band-Aid, a pair of socks, a hairbrush. Bobby Eaton would carry this great big bag. I mean, huge. He would have a whole pack of socks. He would have extra towels. Bobby had everything. And it was cool because there was a lot of guys that, as I came through, that weren't head cases at all. Like, they changed in the same dressing rooms. It wasn't that's the star dressing room, that's the whatever. Like, Harlem Heat walked in. I'll never forget it. And I'm only going to tell half the guys. Harlem Heat walked into the extras dressing room in the center stage in Atlanta, Georgia. And somebody stuck his head in the door and said, "Oh, no, you guys get changed over here with us." And Booker's like, "No, we're good, bro. What's up?" And he went back to his dressing room. Well, the Stars dressing room was smaller than ours. As dumb as it sounds, but there was more of us. Like that dressing room had a shower and blah, 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 whatever, and we didn't. But it was like, they never let it go to their head, and Booker T today, multi-time world champion, one of the most decorated people in the business ever, still, when I see him, it's a big smile, and we haven't seen each other in years. But Booker and Stevie are great people. Stevie's got a podcast too. Everybody's got a fucking podcast. Yeah,
that's one of the things I want to talk about, the Bob Starr podcast.
Wow. But here's the thing, though. What the fuck would I talk about? Wrestling?
Hello? We just rambling for an hour right now.
But everybody talks about wrestling.
Yeah, but the thing is, you say everybody talks about wrestling, but you were talking about your personal experiences, and not only that, you could get the people on that were involved in these experiences.
Yeah, in some cases.
So we've talked about some of your favorites. and we've talked and talked and talked. But so you were talking about who your most favorite wrestler to wrestle was, and you said that was Macho Man Randy Savage. So now this is probably the one that you should worry about. Who is your least favorite to wrestle? So someone that you wrestled that, you know, maybe gave you stiff shots or was a little too rough or talked too much shit or...
Wow. There's been a bunch of them over the years. And I don't want to, and I know there's people in Baltimore just laughing their ass off because they know what I'm about to say. I don't like to speak ill of the dead, but Vader was very, let's say, with us, the extra talent, and with the medium to mid-card guys, he was just heavy-handed as shit. And I mean, some of the bigger guys said the same thing. But I mean, Leon the person was a super nice person. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, and he would always apologize. I'm like, but dude, you made me fucking deaf. Like, that's how I got my job. I did a thing here in Baltimore. I called and bugged the shit out of the guy that was booking extra talent, and he brought me in. And me and Buff Bagwell, he wasn't Buff yet. He was Marcus Alexander Bagwell. They sent us to the ring, and next thing you know, we lock up, and next thing I know, it's like lights out that quick. Vader had slid in the ring, whacked Marcus. Marcus went out. He's the smart one. He went out of the ring. I got sandwiched in the cables, and he hit me. He hit this side, and my head hit the top rope or the top cable. I don't remember shit. I remember looking at Harley Grayson. He's going, "I'm sorry, kid," and he rolled me back in the ring. And when you go back and watch the tape, it's funny as shit. I guess natural instinct. I hit the mat and tried to roll out, and Harley standing right there. And he said, "Sorry, kid, not yet." And I'm like, "Oh!" And it's funny because Dusty Rhodes was the boss. They called the check on me, and I couldn't hear. My ears were ringing like a son of a bitch, right? Because he did that Vader bullshit with the boxing thing and hit me in my ears. And Dusty's like, I hung up on him. I thought it was one of the boys ribbing, right? And he called back. He said, "You hang up on me one more time, you're never gonna make it." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, "Yes, sir." And 2 weeks later, I was in Atlanta, Georgia, at Center Stage, and the rest is history. Dusty liked me, and a few other people. I mean, I've never been one to say I'm a great wrestler. I'm a good storyteller. Like, if you give me a general idea, hence that's how the Jerry Springer thing got so big. People believed what we were saying. That was actually me, a female pro wrestler named Lexi Fife, and someone's friend locally. They brought him as the other guy. Like, she left me for this dude or whatever. And they were like, "Oh my God," and I'm going, "It's a work." It's you know, there was one real segment on that particular show, and it was two black girls, and they beat the living piss at each other all the way down the hallway. And that's what they had to stop, because even though it's awesome TV, it's also illegal. You know what I mean? You can't just beat the shit out of people. So, you know, but there was a lot of wrestlers. The Iron Sheik was part of it. Oh, that was so funny.
He's a crazy singer.
Oh my God, the Sheik, baby, brother. I could tell you stories for days about doing ring rentals back for Dick Karakoff with Dennis, and he would bring in Sergeant Slaughter, and it would be Slaughter against the Sheik on these independent shows, dude. You think the matches were good, the parties were legendary, the shit that would happen. And just Sheik in general. He would walk into a bar and pay for a beer with a pitcher. He would pull it out, it's like, "There you go, payment in full," and walk away.
Oh, Jesus.
Sheik was amazing. But,
okay, so we're gonna close her down in 1 second, but quick list of your memory of any championship, because I know you held some championships.
locally a bunch. Nothing in the big leagues. You know,
right? No.
It's like that's where I not long into it. You know, like, I was a small guy and I was 270, okay, at my heaviest. Usually stuck in around 248, you know, and I was tiny. And the business then, the business now is two different things. Like, you got your ass handed to you a lot back then, and it was kind of like my place in the business was to make these stars
look good,
superstars.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And here's the thing: they can throw any piece of meat out there. But remember, and I said this to a very select few people, and I still mean it to this day. If I'm willing to give you my body, and we'll do all your shit, if you just eat me up and beat the shit out of me, who did you beat? But if you make me look good just a little bit, I can go home and make a living on the indies, and I'll make you look like $1 million, right? So those guys usually were the top stars later. You know what I'm saying? That's where I was saying, I know it insults some of these younger wrestlers of today, but like there's a kid now named Brandon Scott. He's on fire on Independence. He's a good kid. I remember the first day I ever met him, he was this big around, he was a little skinny guy, and he wanted to go to wrestling school, and we were in Western Maryland, and I introduced him to John Rambo, who had the NWL school back then, and I watched Brandon, and then he refereed. You know, I come out, I was headlining a show, clowning around, and he was a referee. And then 3 months later, when they brought me back in, he's in the ring, and I'm like, holy shit, he's this little guy. Now he's a big kid. He looks good. You know, he's worked hard to get the. He's got a good build. He's amazing in the ring, and he can do old school and new school. There are some people out there that can still do that. Most of the kids of this generation are that. Notepads. You have to memorize shit. Okay? I burned them brain cells a long time ago. You know, and now that I'm into this rock photography thing and shooting pictures and that's my passion. I loved it. My slogan for my company is, you watch the show, I'll save the memories. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when you're at the concert, have a great time, do whatever you do.
You have a website? Plug it real quick.
No, actually I don't. I have my Facebook, Shooting Star Photos. I'm
Shooting
like
Star Photos.
I'm
like
10 years behind, you know, everybody else with technology and all this bullshit. If it wasn't for Ruckus, my computer would have exploded a long time ago. Plugged in me, Chocolate City Customs. I got plugs for days, bro. Everybody I know has something going on, you know. And it's just like with you guys. It's like we've been trying to do this for a long time.
And I'm glad though.
And finally. It's like I hate that I rambled on so much.
No.
Because we could go over so much stuff.
Well, look.
But I tell you what,
this is what they want to hear, Dad.
I'd like to put a bunch of us together. I don't know if it's possible, but I think it would be hilarious. Get some drinks going, turn the camera on, get Dennis, you, me, and anybody else that we can find. You know, I got contacts for Gen T.
Billy Cook.
Billy Cook. Yeah, Joey.
Yep.
You know, we've all and because at some time or another, it's still it'll be a sort of a wrestling show. We've all touched each other's lives in one way or another because of wrestling, but we all became friends. And unlike how people do today, you'll make a friend and shit on them 3 weeks later. We've known each other how many years now?
Over 30 years.
Yeah, and it's like, thank God for Facebook, because like we wouldn't have seen, we don't cross paths, you know? And it's like, it's just so amazing to just get back together with friends. You know?
It is.
That's what all I'm doing now. If you see Bob Starr on the road now, there's a few shows that are being talked about in Pennsylvania, and we'll see if that happens, but I'm going just to see my friends. You know what I mean? And that's why I am gearing it down.
If you have wrestle in another show, I want you to let me know. And myself and our producer for the show.
You gotta plug your producer, dude. He's sitting here freezing to death.
We got a heater.
Plug him. He's a good guy.
We got a heater. Everybody knows. He was telling me his job, his you know, the terrible woes of being a producer when somebody asked him to get coffee earlier. And I said, well, is fucking getting yelled at part of it?
We gotta get we need part two, because we didn't even get into the titty bars yet.
I know.
But see, that's the thing. We gotta get half naked women. They can go get the coffee and like.
Son, what's going on? That's your job. Okay, well, I'll tell you, I would like to have a part two, and I appreciate you. I really
absolutely,
do.
Bro.
What a great show.
Like I said, this is a thing, and for local people, because I know we still have a ton of people on our Facebooks that we went to high school and stuff like that with, and it's like I lost touch with most of them, other than everybody that I talked to on Facebook, and I was never the school guy.
Right.
You know, I mean, so I'm a perfect example of don't quit school, kids. Stay, get your degree.
Me too.
If not, you're going to work yourself to death the rest of your life.
Or you're going to sit over in your garage and make YouTube videos. Anyway, thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you all tuning in. And I want to thank my wonderful producer, James McKinney. And I appreciate him so much. And I appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time on the Johnny Laing Show with Johnny Laing. And, of course, Buster will be back. We'll see you guys.